I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's David, and I've been with my wife, Emily, for about 6 years now. We met in college, hit it off pretty quickly, and I honestly thought we had something real. She was smart, funny, a little bitchy, but in a way I kind of liked, kept me on my toes. We got engaged, planned our wedding, and everything seemed to be perfect. Until it was. Looking back, I should have seen the signs. She'd get weird sometimes, would cancel plans last minute or go quiet for days, then brush it off like I was overthinking. She tell me I was paranoid, that she loved me, that I was just stressing over nothing. But I could feel it in my gut, something was off. Still, I trusted her. I wanted to believe in us, in her. The first real clue I got that something was wrong came one night when I accidentally saw her phone. I was trying to find something for her, something she'd asked me to pick up, and I noticed her messages. There were texts from some guy named Tom, her coworker. At first I thought it was just work stuff, but then I saw the way she responded. Short, flirtatious even. That's when I started to get suspicious. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but my gut was shouting at me to dig deeper. Over the next few weeks I started noticing more things. She'd come home late, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize, and she'd be quick to change the subject whenever I asked her who she was talking to. She'd get defensive, tell me I was crazy, that I was just imagining things. But I knew asterisk, she was lying. The way she avoided my eyes, the little slips, the way her responses got more and more strained. My mind kept circling back to Tom, that coworker. I wondered what kind of affair they were having, how long it had been going on, and why she'd lie so effortlessly to my face. One night I decided to confront her. We had a quiet dinner, and I tried to keep my voice steady. I told her I knew about Tom, about the texts, about the late nights. Her reaction, she just scoffed, rolled her eyes, and said I was overreacting. "You're paranoid," she snapped. "Tom's just a friend. You're imagining things as usual." Then she looked at me with that bitchy smirk like she thought she was winning. That's when I realized she believed she could lie her way out of everything, like she was untouchable. But I wasn't about to let her get away with it. Not anymore. I felt a mixture of shock, anger, and heartbreak. How could she betray me like this? Right before our wedding, no less. I kept asking myself if I ever really loved her, or if I just convinced myself I did because I didn't want to believe she was capable of this kind of betrayal. The worst part, I still didn't have all the answers. I just knew enough to be furious, betrayed, and completely lost. After that night, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, and I kept replaying what she said. Her dismissive tone, that smug look on her face. It's like she thought she was untouchable, like I was just some guy who wasn't worth the truth. But I wasn't going to let it go. I needed proof. I needed to know exactly what she'd been hiding from me. So I started digging. I installed a keylogger on her phone, something I never imagined I'd do, but desperate times call for desperate measures. I wanted to catch her in the act, or at least see what she was hiding. It was ugly, I know, but I felt like I had no choice. I needed to find out if she was actually sleeping with Tom or just teasing him, or maybe just lying to me about everything. It didn't take long. A few days after the keylogger was in place, I started getting notifications, text messages, pictures, maybe even more. I hesitated at first, but I couldn't resist. I opened the files, and what I saw made my stomach turn. There were explicit pictures, her and Tom, in places we'd been, in beds I thought were ours. There were messages, too, full of flirtation, promises, and even some that talked about sneaking around behind my back during our supposed engagement period. My mind reeled. I wanted to scream, to cry, to do something, anything, to make her pay. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time I wanted to be prepared. I waited for the right moment when she'd be alone, and I laid everything out on the table. I told her I knew the truth, that I had seen her messages, her photos, her reaction. She laughed, a cruel, sharp laugh that cut through me like a knife. "Oh, come on, David," she sneered. "You think I'd sleep with Tom? You're so paranoid. Besides, it's none of your business." She spat it out like she was trying to hurt me, like she enjoyed watching me crumble. I looked at her, my blood boiling. I felt like all the trust I'd ever had was evaporating, replaced by this horrible realization. She lied about everything. Our whole relationship, maybe even my love for her, has been built on a lie. That's when I started to see her for what she was, a manipulative bitch who thought she could do whatever she wanted and get away with it. The betrayal ran deep, and I knew from that moment I had to decide what to do next. I felt like I was standing at a crossroads. Do I forgive her or do I finally walk away? The pain was real and it was only getting worse. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't sleep, could focus at work, and honestly I felt like I was barely holding myself together. Every time I looked at her, I saw the sneer, the lies, the way she'd lied to my face for months. I started questioning everything. Was I ever really loved her? Or was I just too scared to admit I might have been used? The feeling of being played, of being so blind, was brutal. I kept thinking about the good times, the plans we made, how I never suspected she was sneaking around with Tom behind my back right before our wedding. I thought about confronting her again, but honestly I wasn't sure what more I could say. She'd already lied so much, and I knew she'd come up with even more BS to dodge the truth. Still, I needed to hear it from her, wanted her to admit what she'd done, just so I could finally hear her say it out loud. I arranged to meet her after work, hoping for some closure or at least some clarity. When she showed up, she was her usual bitchy self, rolling her eyes as if I was bothering her. She crossed her arms, smirked at me like she knew she had the upper hand. I laid everything out, how I'd found the explicit photos, the messages, the proof I had that she'd been cheating on me all along. I told her I knew she lied about Tom, about everything. I wanted her to admit it, to confess so I could finally hear the truth. Her reaction: she scoffed and looked me dead in the eyes. "David, you're overreacting. You always jump to conclusions. Tom's just a coworker. We talk a lot, sure, but that's all it is. You're insecure, jealous, and honestly, I don't have time for your paranoia anymore." She looked so calm and dismissive, like she thought she'd already won. It angered me so much I almost lost it. She kept lying, weaving stories about how she was just stressed, or staying late at work, or how I was reading too much into things. But I knew better. She was lying her ass off, trying to gaslight me into doubting what I already knew. That moment was the first real crack in my confidence. I started questioning everything I'd believed about us. Had I been blind all along? Did she really love me, or was I just some guy she used as a backup while she fucked around with Tom? That thought haunted me. I felt so betrayed, so humiliated, that I didn't even know how to respond. Was I supposed to believe her lies, or just accept that I'd been played? I went home that night feeling empty, like a shell of myself, with a gnawing suspicion that I'd never really known her, never really knew if I'd ever been loved or just used as a convenient obstacle in her game. The days that followed were like living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I kept replaying everything in my head, her words, her smirks, the way she dismissed me like I was nothing. I started questioning everything I believed about her, about us. Was she really just lying all this time? Had she ever loved me, or was I just some fool who got played? The worst part was feeling so stupid, so naive. How could I have missed all the signs? How could I have been so blind? I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what. Staying with her felt unbearable now, knowing what I knew. But I also didn't want to jump into some rash decision, especially when she kept insisting everything was just my paranoia. I needed leverage, proof, something she couldn't spin her way out of. So I started planning my next move carefully. I couldn't just walk away blindly. I needed to make her see that I knew everything, that I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. One evening, I decided to test her. I texted her pretending I was still unsure, playing the part of the guy who hadn't quite figured it all out. I threw in some questions, acting like I was probing for answers. She responded quickly and confidently, as if she knew she had control. That didn't sit right with me. I wanted to catch her in a lie, so I laid a trap. I told her I'd found some of her things at Tom's place, the kind of stuff that could only be from their nights together. Her reaction: she panicked. She started cursing, denying everything, then suddenly snapped. "Fine, I slept with him. I did it. But I don't care anymore. I don't love you. I never did." Her voice was cold, like she was finally admitting the obvious, but it still felt like a punch to the gut. It was real. She'd been cheating on me, lying all along, and now she was just spitballing her way out of it. I couldn't believe I'd been so stupid. All those late nights, all those I love yous, and it was all a lie. The woman I'd trusted, the woman I was about to marry, had been screwing her coworker behind my back. That moment was a flood of every emotion, anger, sadness, betrayal, swirling inside me. I felt like I'd been robbed of everything, including my self-respect. I sat there, stunned, staring at my phone, wondering how I'd let someone do this to me. How I'd let her manipulate me into thinking we had something real, when all along she was just using me. And yet part of me felt relief too, because now I finally knew the truth and I could decide what to do next. I had the proof and I was done playing her game. After she finally admitted the truth, everything changed in an instant. I felt like I was living in someone else's nightmare, one I couldn't wake up from. For a while I just sat there, staring at the screen, trying to process what she'd said. She slept with Tom, lied to my face about everything, and now she was just throwing it in my lap like it was nothing. I never thought I'd get to the point where I'd feel so broken, so betrayed, but here I was. I knew I had to make a choice. Part of me wanted to smash her phone, to shout, to scream at her for the pain she'd caused. But I also knew I needed to think clearly. I couldn't just act on impulse, at least not yet. I told her to get out of my place. I didn't want her around anymore. I told her I was done, that I couldn't trust her, and that the marriage was over before it even really started. She looked at me with that smug, bitchy smirk like she thought she'd won. That only fueled my anger. That night, I packed her things. I wanted her gone, out of my life, out of my head. As I was doing it, she kept trying to guilt me, saying I was overreacting, that it was just sex, that she was sorry, but that she didn't love Tom anymore. Yeah, right. Sorry doesn't fix a broken trust. Sorry doesn't erase months of lies, deceit, and betrayal. I wasn't buying her bullshit anymore. She was just trying to save her own ass like she always did. When she finally left, I felt a weird mix of relief and emptiness. For the first time in years, I was truly alone. I kept asking myself if I should try to salvage what was left, or if I should just cut my losses and walk away for good. But deep down, I knew there was no fixing this. Not really. She lied so much, betrayed me so deeply that I couldn't see any way back. I felt like I'd been used, like she'd toyed with me for her own amusement, and now I was left picking up the pieces of a relationship that was never real to begin with. The pain was overwhelming, but at least I had finally seen her true face. That's what hurts the most, knowing I was blind to the truth for so long. And now I'd have to live with the consequences of trusting someone who never really loved me. Now looking back, I realize that there's no going back to what I thought was my life. The betrayal cut so deep that I don't even know if I'll ever fully recover from it. The trust I had in her, in us, is shattered beyond repair. And honestly, I don't even feel angry anymore, just numb. Maybe that's worse. Maybe it's just my mind trying to protect itself from the pain. I've learned a few things, though. About trust, about love, and about how some people are just better at lying than I ever gave them credit for. Emily was manipulative, selfish, and she played me for months, maybe years. She lied about her feelings, her intentions, and even her loyalty. It's hard not to feel like I've been used, like I was just some placeholder for her until she found someone better or someone easier to manipulate. Most of all, I've realized that I can't force someone to love me. If they don't want to be with me honestly, I'd rather be alone than live in a lie. I don't regret uncovering the truth, even if it hurt like hell. Because now I know who she really is, and I do have to spend another second pretending that everything was okay. Honestly, I'm still healing. It's going to take time to rebuild my confidence, to trust again, or even to believe in the idea of love. But I'm done with her, done with the lies, done with feeling like I was just some fool who got used and discarded. I've learned that sometimes the only way to truly move on is to face the truth head on, no matter how brutal it might be. So for anyone reading this who's going through something similar, trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs, no matter how small. Because when someone lies to your face, they're not just lying about that moment, they're lying about everything. And once the truth comes out, it's impossible to go back. But it's also the beginning of your real life, the one where you decide what you truly deserve. And for me, That's a better future, free from someone who never really loved me to begin with.